where best friends and next-door neighbors, Willow and Lillian, spill the tea on murder, mysteries, and other things that go bump in the night. So get your favorite teacup ready, and let's get into it. Welcome to Cruelty Podcast. This is Lillian, and with me is Willow.
Hi.
Hi, I hate this case.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put up trigger warnings right now.
Yeah.
I don't even want to banter because this will be a bit long. Basically, everything, I don't know, it's sexual assault, torture, child death. It's bad.
If you don't know this case is up there with the worst.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right up there with Picton and like the Toy Box
Yeah.
Killers. It's pretty horrific.
Yeah.
And we're still on Friends Who Kill month, which I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a new month already.
It's so sinister when they work together.
Yeah, because when I think of friendship, I think of it as a relationship that betters people.
Right.
Friends are a vital part of who we are, and it's like the building blocks of community. When you're a kid, it helps teach you that other people feel and think and have experiences similar to you, but different, so that you can experience vicariously those experiences. But friendship isn't always sunshine and roses, as this month proves. It's just, it can bring out the worst in people. It's like a friend should bring out your best.
Right.
But with these people, not so much. I don't think there's a better example of this than Charles and Leonard Lake. So please heed the trigger warnings on this episode. It's a case that is so horrific, it's hard to believe. It's one of the first that really stuck with me from watching documentaries on it as a young adult. Because the trial of this went all the way... Like, it took forever. It was all the way into the 90s, and most of the murders took place in 1984. So, I don't know, it's pretty amazing. And to think the world may have never known about Charles and Leonard if Charles hadn't been caught shoplifting in San Francisco on June 2nd, 1985. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Leonard Lake was born in San Francisco on October 29th, 1945. When he was 6, his parents split up and he was sent to live with his siblings and his maternal grandparents. They all went together to live with their grandparents. From an early age, Leonard seemed disturbed. And I think that's the best way to put it. He took pictures of his sisters naked, like he was obsessed with it.
That's not okay.
No.
I mean, clearly, but...
But his grandmother encouraged it. And now, look, I tried...
What does that mean,
In the
Lillian?
research, like, she encouraged him to take pictures. Maybe she was seeing it as innocent because they were little children, and she was just taking pictures of innocent little children, and she saw nothing sexual about it. Like, my grandmother thought cute little naked babies were just the cutest.
Oh,
You know what
well,
I'm
because he's
saying?
still little. How?
Yeah, he's a little kid. He was 6 when he went to live with his grandmother.
Oh, okay.
And so she just thought they're being
It's like
cute.
it's like me taking pictures of Mateo, like in the bathtub, kind of thing. Like,
I don't know if it was something more sinister and abusive, or if she just thought, "Oh, innocent little children, aren't they sweet?" Because little naked kids, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I will be honest with y'all. I literally never took a picture of my children naked, and I know lots of people do when they're babies.
Yeah, I do.
And there's nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't my thing. I wasn't a big picture taker either.
yeah.
It's not to say I'm not sentimental. I don't know. My life was a shit show back then, so it's hard to say. But yeah, I know plenty of little old ladies that think little naked babies is cute.
Yeah, photo albums are a huge deal, and and especially keepsakes.
Oh yeah,
and especially like big families, especially will like hoard baby pictures, especially naked baby pictures of you doing stupid shit while you're naked. To embarrass you while you're dating later on.
But I will tell you this: don't do that. Yeah. Don't embarrass your kid with nude pictures of them.
Yeah.
It's weird. And it's
weird
abusive.
once you say it out loud and think about it. But growing up, you don't think
that was
weird.
Normal. I had it done to me.
Yeah.
But
it's a pretty Southern thing.
I super don't think we should embarrass our children on purpose
at all.
Especially about nudity and when they were a child. I find that not cool. Swore to never do it. And thus I never did.
Right.
I don't want to embarrass my kids because being a teenager is just embarrassing. And embarrassment is such a shitty feeling. I want them to feel really safe with me. And I don't think sharing pictures of them at their most vulnerable to someone they're trying to impress romantically is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mean.
Do I think that it's criminal or sick? No.
No.
I just think it's shitty.
I take pictures of my kids as much as humanly possible all the fucking time. Like, my phone is just outrageously full of
I'm like
kid
that
pictures.
with my dog.
Well,
this makes me sound terrible. I'm just not.
Yeah. I just have a rough life, so I document everything now that life is good. But so I can understand how people would see this as innocent.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I take pictures of my baby all the time.
And I do, for me personally, I do not share pictures of my children online until really they're almost adults because there's creeps and I don't want them getting a hold of my babies that way. All my pictures of my kids, especially when they were tiny, are private. I have tons, but they're private. But I'm not casting judgments on you if you share your pictures. It's a personal choice. Or if you take pictures of your baby's little naked bum in the bath. Also your choice. It's just not my thing.
Right.
But I do see how someone would consider it innocent. Especially if another child is taking it.
Especially if another child is taking it. Because you don't think that they would think that way.
However, this did warp him pretty bad and led to an obsession with pornography.
That sucks so much.
Boy, there are a lot of sources with conflicting information on this case. And I really did look, you guys, in trying to find if his grandmother was like being deviant. I'm just going to say no. I don't think so. I think people are desperately trying to find out why he was this way.
They want a reason.
And I don't think his upbringing was too bad. I mean, I'm sure it was pretty traumatic to be separated from his mother and father when he was 6. But golly, I've had traumatic things happen too. It's the whole thing. Nature versus nurture. Who knows? But it wasn't just his inappropriate behavior with his sisters. He also harmed small animals. And of course, that's always a red flag. He would catch and kill mice and dissolve their bodies in chemicals.
Oh.
And he would employ this tactic later when he was an adult.
I don't.
In 1964, Leonard was 18 and enlisted in the Marine Corps. He would go on to do 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. He worked as a radar technician at the Da Nang base, and there he would experience his first real mental health issues. He was showing signs of psychosis. He was diagnosed with a schizoid personality disorder, but was put back on active duty until 1971, when he received a medical discharge after having a delusional breakdown. And the words I'm using are the words that are used in the official reports. A schizoid personality disorder is characterized by antisocial behavior. They'll often have like 2 lives. Like they'll have like a setup of like a wife, maybe 1 kid. They have a hard time keeping down a full-time job. They're really lost in a world of fantasy. Their fantasy life is richer than their real life. And they're kind of using their real life as a cover in order to spend most of their time daydreaming. And with Leonard, I can absolutely, I can see it. I can see that, you know, I'm not a professional, but professionals, that's what they gave him, and the diagnosis, and I can see it. And he was given, like I said, a medical discharge after that. And when he left the military, Leonard went to college, but pretty much dropped out immediately after. He could not keep up with school. He got married after moving to a hippie commune and was swiftly divorced a few years later in 1975. Around this time, he started making amateur pornographic S&M films. His sexual deviancy was a big factor in the termination of his first marriage, and that he just had a low emotional affect. He just wasn't feeling things very deeply, didn't seem to have a lot of empathy for others, and don't go digging for all those amateur films.
Oh, no. Well,
I do think there's at least one, and I just
did
recommend.
You see it?
No, because I like my brain the way it is.
Do you? Okay.
Well, no, but I don't certainly need to make it any worse. I don't need any more intrusive thoughts than I already have. No, thanks. Leonard became convinced that the world would end via nuclear holocaust. Oh. And while that may seem pretty far-fetched today,
back then,
or maybe, but back then, during the height of the Cold War, it was a very real possibility that we came close to several times. I remember it was my number one fear when I was 8 years old. I had seen a couple movies like Threads and The Day After. Don't show those to children. And I was just convinced, too, like this is how the world ends. People can't get along. They're going to blow each other up. And I still worry about it occasionally. Like I can't quite shake my Cold War era upbringing. In kindergarten, we had a drill to hide under our fucking desk. Yeah. Which begs the question, like, why are we hiding under kindling?
What are we doing?
That's not going to help. No. Is it just to make finding my corpse easier later? Who's left to find it? Just tell me to just think happy thoughts and stare at the blast. Oh, the pretty colors. Yeah. Just tell me it's Jesus coming to take me home or something. I don't know. Anyway, people covering this case will always point to his fears about nuclear holocaust as being really delusional. I just don't think so.
Yeah.
To the extremes in which he took it later,
probably,
maybe.
But still,
but even then,
it was rooted.
People, like, I just don't know. They're often younger than me covering this, and they're like, that's dumb. And I'm like, ew, you weren't alive then. I just don't think it's an example of delusional thinking. My parents were worried about it when I was a kid in the 70s and early 80s. And Leonard did take it pretty far. I mean, he kind of turned into a prepper. Today's equivalent of a prepper.
I was about to say, this reminds me of like in 2000, like whenever I was like the end of 1999, my dad started stocking up on water bottles. Like that was going to save us. Like, yeah, Dad, let's go.
You know, getting a little preppery isn't necessally delusional. Right. It's just a hobby for some people.
Yes.
And I do mean that.
Yeah.
Do I think it's a good hobby? No. But who cares what I think? Have your fun.
I really do like Army surplus stores, though. They're really
Seal
great.
up those beans, friends. I'm not bothered by your prepping. I think it's pointless, but I think it's pointless because if there was a full-on nuclear exchange, we're all fucking dead. Who cares? Go sit at the like fucking ground zero and snort some coke or something. Have a good time. I just don't want to live past the end of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Snort some Drano. Just fucking
adios.
Adios. Yeah. After his divorce, he moved to a place in Northern California called Greenfield Ranch. It would be there he'd meet his second wife, Carolyn Balaz, whom he nicknamed Cricket. And she was only 25 years old when he met her, very impressionable. And he was a bit older than her. He involved her in his home movies and fantasies and fell deeper into the rabbit hole of his paranoia. He started building a bunker on the ranch to save him from nuclear fallout and only stopped when the property owner found out. Again, I don't think it's that crazy. My grandparents had a fallout shelter in their backyard and I would go play in it, but then it was full of spiders, so no. There are several sources that differ on how he met Charles Ng and when. Like, it's just not clear. Okay. He met him sometime in the early 80s. And they met either through mutual friends, which some people say, or they met in a War Games magazine or a prepper-like magazine, kind of through a personal ad. And there are some questions to Charles Ng's sexuality.
Okay.
Given who he targets later.
Yeah.
And the idea of meeting a friend in a personal ad in a nuclear Holocaust prepping magazine seems really bizarre to me.
They were roommates. Like, okay.
I don't think they were involved. I really don't.
You don't think they had a romantic relationship?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Or a sexual relationship. Maybe Charles wanted one.
Right.
But I think Leonard was heterosexual. But who knows? I mean, there's no way to know. At any rate, they were a match made in hell.
Ew. Hearing their names makes my stomach.
It makes my stomach hurt. This whole case makes my stomach hurt.
I know. I
haven't even got to the bad stuff. Charles was born in Hong Kong, China, during the British occupation on December 24th, 1960. He was much younger than Leonard. but just as troubled. He was a son of a wealthy businessman and the youngest of 3 children. His father was a tyrant and physically and verbally abused Charles. So Charles turned to stealing and setting small fires, specifically shoplifting. And by the time he was 15, he has been kicked out of every school in Hong Kong. He's been expelled for his just kind of explosive behavior. He had a bit of a temper too. His father sent him to a private school in England to try and get a handle on his wild behavior. And he was there, maybe a week before he was expelled again, this time for stealing from other students.
Damn.
Like, he's a kleptomaniac. He just cannot quit stealing. It is just a lifelong problem with shoplifting. In 1978, the year before my glorious birth, Charles moved to the U.S. and started going to college at Notre Dame, where he would study science. He, too, only lasted a semester before dropping out. Shortly after, he was involved in a hit-and-run car accident, and he joined the Marine Corps to avoid getting prosecuted for this. And what he did is he brought fake documents saying he was born in Bloomington, Indiana. And he got in.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you meant to court.
No, he never went to court. He ran off. Like, assumed name and everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's a different Charles Ng from Bloomington. And so, yeah, it didn't go so well in the Marine Corps. Less than a year of service later, military police arrested Charles for stealing automatic weapons, like a lot of them. This time, he was facing court-martial. And he escaped the military base he was being held at in Hawaii and fled to California. And
what, like by boat? Like, did he swim?
I just couldn't.
He just fled?
Yeah.
He just fucking ran?
No, he didn't swim. He got on a plane.
No,
and I'm going to guess under an assumed name with the help of a friend, because
Right.
this is frequently how he escapes trouble.
Right.
But that he broke out of a military base is just nuts to me. And this is where he meets Leonard Lake. Shortly after becoming friends, the two moved into a mobile home together in Ukiah, California, which would shortly be raided by federal agents looking for Charles so he could finally be tried for those weapons charges. And this really should have been the end of their friendship. The agents found tons of weapons and explosives, and both men were arrested for this. And I don't know. I'm really pissed off. This is the military. These are federal agents. How'd y'all guys fuck this up so fucking bad?
Like, you don't work for, like, the county, the district. Like, you're not, like...
You work for the U.S. government,
You're the country. You're the police for the country. Why can't you? Aren't you supposed to be, like, the best?
The best of the best. How much fucking money do we pour into the military-industrial complex?
Just saying.
Y'all, it's most of our budget, and they fumbled this so bad. Let me continue on, and you'll see what I fucking mean. Because Leonard jumps bail and just runs off. He hides out in the commune, and it's not really a proper commune, with his girlfriend, Carolyn, his wife now. And Charles was tried, dishonorably discharged, and served only 18 months in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, for stealing automatic weapons from the fucking military.
18 months? That's so long. That's going to teach him everything he needs. I bet he just turned...
Oh, he's so sorry.
Wow, he's real big sorry.
He is not sorry. Neither of them are sorry. And the thing is, okay, so here's my deal. I wouldn't have let Charles out until that sneaky little shit told me where Leonard was. Because they were living together.
Yeah.
Charles knew exactly where Leonard was, because the minute he gets out of jail, he goes right back to California, right where Leonard is. Mm-hmm. And how do you fuck this up so bad? You're going to let a man who had a bunch of explosives stolen from the military, it was in his house, just jump bail and go, oh, well.
Whoopsie daisy.
Golly, I guess it's all fucked now. He's escaped. Moving on. No! But okay. So he hooked right back up with Leonard. By this time, Leonard and Carolyn have divorced, though they remained friends. And keep that in mind. I've never seen her make much of a statement regarding all this. Otherwise, I didn't know anything. Their marriage ended for what we assume are the same reasons as his first marriage, and what she has said in press and stuff, is that he was pretty abusive sexually, and she was tired of making the weird movies with him. She was pretty sure he was cheating on her. I mean, that's all the lip service we get. But I think there was way more to it than that. And I don't think they remained friends because she wanted to remain friends. I think she had to remain friends. We'll get to that, though. Okay. So when their marriage ended, he just went off the deep end. Pretty much. His fantasies were fueled by a book he'd read when he'd been a teenager. And it's called The Collector. And this is by John Fowles. And I have read it. You're welcome. I read it for this episode. Sometimes I will do research you guys won't hear me even talk about because I believe it adds flavor. You know, you may not hear me give the exact information, but I feel like I can speak with more authority on a subject if I know everything about it.
Oh, yeah, I do.
So I read this book. It's not good, by the way. I think it's pretty poorly written. It sounds like some nerd's fantasy. But basically, it is about a young man. It was published in 1963. It's a thriller. It's about, he's socially awkward, this young man, and he collects butterflies. And he is obsessed with a young woman named Miranda, and he kidnaps her. Now, his hope is that she will eventually fall in love with him, his kidnapped victim. Right. And she keeps a diary. So it's split between the POVs, like the scattered diary entries of Miranda, and then the POV of the protagonist, the male protagonist. And Miranda's clearly like, this fucking guy, I hate this guy. She thinks about killing him all the time. She also tries to seduce him in hopes that he'll let her go, because he promises he'll eventually let her go, but he never does.
Right.
And the seduction doesn't work because his love for her is pure and not sexual, which roll my eyes for 3,000 years.
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Bouquet.
And eventually she gets seriously ill and dies. Like, he doesn't kill her, she just dies. And he is sitting there, like, at first he's heartbroken and he wants to, you know, off himself to be with her. Then he reads the diary and she's like, I fucking hate this twerp.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, well, and buries her in his garden. The end of the book is him fantasizing about kidnapping another young woman.
And that's it?
That's it, y'all.
That's the book that he's so obsessed with?
Oh my God, yes. And he is so obsessed with it.
It's essentially Beauty and the Beast with a different ending.
It's just gross, stupid. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not even a good book. Yeah. So
I'm glad there's butterflies in it.
Well, that's kind of where the collector part comes into it. And so Leonard's just obsessed with this book. And y'all, he's one of like 4 serial killers obsessed with this fucking book. Can you imagine being the author? I'd be like, can you pull this and just never let it be? It's not even that good. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Leonard has been busy while Charles was away in jail. His first victim would be his own brother, Donald Blake. Donald was described as a mild-mannered, nice man, a gentle person who Leonard treated pretty much terribly when they were younger, like tortured him. He showed up at his mother Gloria's house, and this is where Donald was living in December of 1982 in San Francisco, and he wanted to take Donald on a road trip, just out of nowhere. I believe this was done solely to steal Donald's identity. Leonard had skipped bail on an illegal weapons charge, needed a driver's license of someone who looked like him. Yeah. So whenever if he got pulled over and needed to show identification, he could show his brothers, because Donald never returned from that trip. His remains have never been found. 4 months.
Chilling.
It is so scary. Anytime Leonard wants something, he just finds someone just to murder and take it from them. It's just gross. 4 months after his brother Donald never returned home from his road trip, Leonard moved in with a friend into a cabin, and this would be a cabin on his ex-wife's property. So on this like ranch area.
The ex-wife that he's not really friends with, but kind of friends with. Oh, that ex-wife?
That ex-wife.
The fishy one?
The fishy bitch. Sorry, I just...
Not the derogatory fish term.
No, of course not. No, fishy is suspicious as fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't even, that term doesn't even enter into my fucking mind.
It triggered me for a second. I just wanted to like clarify.
Yes,
like,
thank you. I don't use that term. Yeah, so he moves into this cabin with a guy named Charles Gunner. Charles had been the best man at his wedding to Carolyn, and the two kind of shared a love of guns and survivalism. They were into like, I could build a fire with some sticks.
Fuck yeah, I can build a fire. I'm so good at building fires.
Me too. I hate to like front, but it's true. Yeah. I can rub some sticks together and make a fire. That's true. I prefer magnifying glass. That's easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one day, after his divorce from Carolyn, he told Charles, he's like, I'm really sad and feeling blue, my man. Let's go on a Vegas road trip. Only Leonard came back from that trip. He told the babysitter Charles had hired to watch his two young daughters that Charles had just run off with some woman. Leonard was driving Charles's van. Charles Gunner was never seen again. His remains have never been found, and I think the motive here is pretty simple. Leonard wanted his van. This becomes a pattern for Leonard. He kills people who have the things he wants, and they all lead to one end. He wants to kidnap women and make them his sex slaves and kill them when he's done using them.
He doesn't care about anybody.
He has no empathy.
He's extreme narcissistic.
I don't think he's narcissistic. I just think he's a psychopath. I just think he has no warm fuzzies in there.
It feels like very self-centered, but I don't know the full psychopathy.
It doesn't strike me as narcissism. It strikes me as just nothing. There's no feelings there.
It's like deep and hollow at the same, deep and shallow at the same time. Deep
and empty.
Yeah.
Yes. Now with Charles Ng back in his life, Leonard becomes obsessed with living a real life version of the Collector. It's 1984 in San Francisco, and people start going missing. Entire families disappear without a trace. People are attacked in their homes. Charles Ng and Leonard Lake have begun their journey to become two of California's most notorious serial killers. People were scared. Yeah. The police had no leads because, again, these are people meeting, like Charles and Leonard go up to people who don't know them and they don't know them. These are strangers. These are the hardest cases to solve, especially back in 1984. We don't have all the CCTV cell tower DNA shit. We have newspapers, and we'll get to it. Most of these missing persons cases went cold almost immediately. There were small signs linking the cases together, but no one had figured this out yet. There would be no break in all these cases until June 2nd, 1985, nearly a year after the disappearances start. On this day, at a hardware store in San Francisco, Charles Ng tried to steal a $75 vise. He was chased out of the store and dropped the vise into the trunk of a brown Honda sedan.
I have a question.
Yes.
What's a vise?
A vise is like a clamp that holds two pieces of a thing together. So like if you're wood gluing something and you need to hold it together, or you need to hold another object to another object. Yeah.
Like a C-clamp?
It's like a clamp. But a vise can... call something a vice grip.
I was about to say vice grip.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you can like increase the pressure exponentially on a vice grip. Who the fuck knows what he wanted with that? Just saying. He was chased out of there. Again, he dropped the vise into the trunk of this car. Charles then took off on foot and he escaped. Police were called, and when they arrived and looked in the trunk of the sedan, they noticed a gun with a silencer on it. And that's an illegal modification to a weapon. As they were processing the trunk, a man, Leonard Lake, came out of the hardware store and told officers he had just paid for the vise, and that the man who fled was his friend, and everything was just a silly misunderstanding. Yeah, police were like, cool, but there's an illegal gun in your car.
But you weren't searching for it, so...
It doesn't matter.
Sometimes
it depends on the probable cause. Since someone had seen Charles drop an illegally stolen item into this trunk, the trunk was already open and the gun was just laying there. That presented police with a probable cause. They didn't do anything wrong in this case.
Okay, I see it.
Yes, indeed. So Leonard was handcuffed and put in the back of a police car to be taken to the station for questioning. They just wanted to question him about the gun. That's it. But he knew that his license was another man's driver's license. Mm-hmm. He was driving a car that he stole from someone he killed. And so He's nervous. In the patrol car, Leonard immediately turned on Charles as the shoplifter. He just said, his name's Charles Ng. Yep. Mm-hmm. And when they arrived at the station, he totally said, my name's not the name on my driver's license. It's Leonard Lake, and I'm a wanted fugitive from justice.
Wow. He didn't even try.
Nope. He asked
why.
for... Well,
sorry.
We'll get to it.
Sorry.
We'll get to it. He wanted a pen, a paper, and a glass of water. And so the detective, the guy he was going to make a confession, is what everyone assumed. So he gave him these things, and he left him alone for just a minute to go talk to another detective before they entered back into the room while he wrote down his confession, presumably. When they walk back in, Leonard Lake is on the floor, and he is convulsing.
I remember this.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about this part.
Yeah, he's like flopping around. They assume he has epilepsy or something or heart condition. So they take him to the hospital. Brain scans are done. He is brain dead.
Yeah.
Once an autopsy is performed, it is found that he had taken cyanide capsules and killed himself. Yeah. Now, these were gel capsules, and it would have taken approximately 25 minutes to digest. So he popped those the minute they were cuffing
So
him.
he popped them, and he was like he just got it all out of his system because it was already.
He did not give a confession.
Oh no. But he said,
Well, he just
Charles
said, this is
Ng.
my real name. This is Charles Ng, is my
Yes,
friend.
yeah.
But he didn't tell them what he'd done or why he killed himself. Not over an illegal gun. The police were really confused. They're like, something more is going on here, clearly. Leonard wrote a note, and it's clearly a suicide note. He told Carolyn that he loved her. He apologized to his family for what he'd done, and he said without freedom, he just couldn't handle being put in jail. That's why. So he was sorry. That's it.
I forgot all about this part.
He knew, I guess, to me, like when the police would finally process the car, look at that driver's license. He knew it was all tumbling down.
He knew it was going to happen, but my God, to pull it like that early on.
He's like, nope.
Yeah,
It was the only opportunity he would have had because they had him in custody. They already were funky about the car and
they were
his
about
license.
to search him and everything, and they would have found it.
So what I'm going to do now is give you guys some names. There's approximately 11 that Charles Ng ends up being convicted for.
Okay.
And these are the missing persons cases that were kind of in the news because I'm going to guess a lot of the other victims are sex workers.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't say. We don't know. I have only information on one of them, but I'll get to that towards the end.
And prolific killers like this also kill by opportunity.
Yes.
So,
well, and you'll see.
yeah.
So here we go. Jeffrey D. Askren disappeared on April of 1984. His late model Honda was found abandoned near Leonard's home, but not on the property. Now, I don't know necessarily if he was convicted of John's murder. Maybe. You don't hear John talked about. I can't find any information on him. There were a bunch of books on this, but I could not dive any deeper. This case makes my stomach hurt. It's rough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I haven't even got to the worst part.
It's already got me, and you haven't. Yeah.
I know.
I'm bracing myself.
Donald Gillette was an openly gay man in San Francisco. He was also a radio personality. He lived with another gay man, Richard Carraza. Boy, it never says if they were boyfriends. I don't know. And I don't like to presume.
But how many of my gay friends have gay roommates that they do not have sex with?
I've had
almost
tons.
all of them.
Yeah, I've had tons of queer roommates I didn't sleep with.
Yeah.
But also tons that I did. Hey. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Basically, what Donald had done is put an ad in the paper. He wanted to perform oral sex on straight men, of course, who were interested. Aww. It was a personals ad.
I don't know why I said all.
I don't either. So on July 11th, 1984, a man described as Asian by Richard came to the door. And it was assumed he was answering the ad, but instead he immediately shot and killed Donald.
Oh my God.
He shot Richard, who survived. And when he came to try, he had gotten shot when he came to try and help Donald. The case quickly went cold with no leads. Harvey, Deborah, and Sean Dubbs went missing on July 25th, 1984. They were a young couple in their late 20s, early 30s who had just had baby Sean a year ago.
Oh my God.
Harvey was trying to sell some audio and video equipment via a classified ad. Deborah was on the phone with a friend when her doorbell rang. She told the friend that two men were there to buy the equipment Harvey had for sale and that she had to go.
Oh my God.
This would be the last time anyone ever heard from the family. And I don't know if their remains were ever found.
That's terrible.
At least not whole. Randy Jacobson went missing in October of 1984 after having some business dealings with Leonard. Anybody Leonard didn't like, he got rid of them.
Or just apparently had business dealings with, like, didn't even know.
Well, the business dealings could have gone south. He could have said something insulting.
Or they weren't even real business dealings. He just set up business dealings with people.
Just to kill them. Yeah, he did that.
Them.
Sure he did. This case really bothers me. This is such a nice guy, and he was so happy in his life, and it bugs me. On November 2nd, 1984, Paul Rosner, a used car salesman, left his house at 7:30 p.m. to go sell a Honda sedan to a man he described as weird to his fiancée. He told her he would return home at 8 p.m. to watch a TV show with her. Paul was never seen again. His remains were never found. And Leonard was driving his Honda when he was arrested in 1985. Yeah.
Oh my God.
His remains are on that property somewhere, or in the ones they collected, but we'll get to that because I have a bone to pick, literally. But anyway. Clifford Parento went missing in January of 1985. He worked for a moving company along with Charles Ng. He frequently got in arguments at work with Charles. Like, they had some kind of differing political opinions or something. Charles was a real, like, fucking know-it-all, like, guy who would be like, you're wrong, well, actually. And so one time, I guess the argument ended bad, and he was just never seen again.
God.
On February 24th, 1985, Jeff Gerald was last seen by friends before he went to help his coworker, Charles Ng, move. He was never seen alive again. This one's rough because of the mind games they play with this poor woman. And she's only 19 years old. On April 12th, 1985, Kathleen Allen and Michael Carroll are staying in a motel together. They're in a romantic relationship. Michael, at around 10 p.m. that night, told Kathleen he had something he had to do, and she never saw him again. The following day at work, Kathleen got a strange phone call that Michael had been involved in a shooting. Clearly, visibly upset, she went to her boss, and she's like, I gotta go. Michael's in trouble. And so she leaves, and she is last spotted by witnesses in a Safeway parking lot, getting into a Honda sedan with a balding man. And she is never seen alive again.
So they called her.
Yes, they called her and said they probably gave her some kind of instructions to save her boyfriend. They killed them both.
What the fuck?
Yeah. April 19th, 1985, Robin Scott Stapley and Lonnie Bond Sr., Lonnie Bond Jr., who was only 2 years old, and his mother, Brenda O'Connor, who was only 19, they went missing. They disliked their neighbor, Leonard Lake. They said he was extremely rude and obnoxious and demented. He occasionally, Leonard did, fired weapons on his property, and O'Connor felt really uncomfortable because he wouldn't stop, and this is Deborah, he wouldn't stop asking her to pose nude for him. He kept telling her he was like a photographer and he needed models and he would pay her, and he just constantly harassed her. And Lonnie, her boyfriend, went to go confront Leonard Lake about it, and none of them were ever seen again. Not the baby, not Deborah, not Robin, none of them.
He just plows right through people.
Yeah, and all of these can be attributed to Charles Ng and Leonard Lake. But do you see what I mean about the sexuality being in question? Because Charles Ng on his own targeted gay men for no other reason other than they were gay. Because in some remains that were found were the remains of two gay men. And I can't, some sources said that the gay men he shot originally from the personal ad, their remains were found on the property and none of them survived. But most say that Richard survived. So I don't know. I hate cases like this where information is just all over the place. Like, it's not that hard to keep straight.
Like, how big was their fucking property that they could just get away with all
It was
of this?
pretty big.
It reminds me of the Texas killing fields.
A bit, but it's just like it's in a remote part of Northern California on this ranch in the middle of nowhere. And so they're targeting people who are virtual strangers, minus the neighbors, which I think was fucking stupid if you don't want to get caught. That would have gotten them caught eventually, in my opinion.
think?
Yes. So
The whole family, when whole families go missing and that doesn't raise any red flags or anything, that's
they just didn't connect the dots yet.
so interesting.
But here's where they start to. After the arrest and death of Leonard Lake, the police begin their investigation. Leonard had been using Robin Stapley's ID. Before he killed himself, he had told police his real name and that of Charles Ng as his accomplice to his crimes. Robin had been reported missing along with Lonnie Jr. and Brenda O'Connor. Their case had already gone cold. It had very few leads. In processing the car, they found a bullet hole in the ceiling of the car and blood spatter when they used luminol. Someone had been shot and killed in the car, and it was likely Paul Rosner, who was the owner of the car. Under one of the seats, they found an unpaid electric bill belonging to Carolyn. So they paid her a visit, and when police arrived, she told them they were free to search the property that Leonard had been renting from her.
So she's driven the car before.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily, because Leonard could have been paying some of her bills. Because remember, they're still friends. Right. She could have gotten a ride from him. It doesn't necessarily mean she knew that he had killed a man.
But it does mean that she could have possibly been in the car.
For sure. Could have meant that. Here's what she didn't tell them, is that she'd already taken Charles Ng to the airport, where he flew under a fake name, Mike Komodo, and had fled to first Chicago and then to Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. Charles would continue to elude capture until his shoplifting got him nabbed again. In fact, if it weren't for Charles's kleptomania, they may have never gotten caught, but they certainly would have killed more people. Charles was arrested in July of 1985 in Canada, where he was convicted and serving time for the shoplifting. He spent the next few years embroiled in a legal battle, fighting extradition to the United States for murder charges. He wouldn't go to trial in the U.S. until 1991.
Oh, my God.
While police were trying to get Charles back to the U.S., they were processing the property. And what they found was horrifying. In one bedroom, they found the equipment Harvey Dubbs had for sale in that classified ad. They found vehicles belonging to their neighbors, Brenda O'Connor and Lonnie Bond, and of course, Robin Stapley. There was no sign of 2-year-old Lonnie Jr. Next to the driveway of the house, in addition to that, they found people's driver's license and stuff in the house, or objects belonging to them, like they were keeping them as trophies. Next to the driveway of the house that Leonard rented from Carolyn, they found a makeshift bunker constructed out of cinder blocks. Inside the bunker were handcuffs, various tools, women's clothing, and makeup. And of course, a copy of the book, The Collector. Leonard had called his plans to kidnap, rape, and torture women Project Miranda. He was obsessed with his disgusting fantasies. There were 21 women in pictures, all around the inside of this bunker. And not all of those women have been identified, and most of them were nude and looked distressed. Inside the bunker was a hidden tiny room with a filthy mattress and a bucket, and a list of rules for captured women to follow. Outside the bunker, they found a makeshift burial mound that contained 45 pounds of crushed bones, human bones.
45 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Do me a quick favor, because I meant to do this and I forgot. Go ahead and Google, how much does a human skeleton weigh? Just one.
I don't know. My toddler's a little under 45 pounds.
He don't look 45 pounds.
He's chunky.
He's sturdy.
Sturdy.
Yeah. How many pounds is it? because I'm just curious. I wish I had Googled this beforehand. I hate when I think of things in the middle of recording.
Oh, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Bones make up 15%, about 100 pounds. Wait. Oh, just 15% of your body. Wait.
So whatever. I can't math. I would say an average of like 20 pounds. Would you?
Yeah, is that if a person is weighing 100 pounds, their bones weigh about.
But these have been burned and crushed.
Yeah, that's nothing. Have you? I mean,
yeah,
I've burned bones before, not human, but like deer bones or like whatever.
They become much lighter once you burn them.
Oh, they're really they
dry up.
They're
and
very
stuff.
very dry and porous. It's like sponges.
Now, at first,
So that's a lot.
they kind of estimated it'd be about 11 people. And they were going off missing persons reports, too, and the ones they could directly tie to them. So they thought it was just the remains of the ones I talked about. But they were wrong. It was a much, much higher number. Wow. On the property, they found a hand-drawn treasure map that led to the discovery of 2 5-gallon buckets. Inside the buckets were clues that brought the number of victims all the way up to 25. And not everything has been disclosed to the public in this case, still. In one was an envelope with the names and IDs of many people, men and women. In the other bucket were diaries from the years 1983 to 1984 written by Leonard, and there were videotapes labeled M Ladies. These were VHS tapes and recorded with equipment stolen from Harvey Dubs. God. 3 of their victims were on these tapes: Deborah, Kathleen, and Brenda. The tapes show Kathleen and Brenda tied up, being threatened. I don't want to repeat everything that was said because it upsets me so much, but in particular, they threatened Brenda with taunting her over her baby.
My God.
Saying, if you don't do what we say, we're going to kill your baby. The baby will get taken away. They had already killed her baby.
I was about to say they probably already.
They immediately killed the men and the children. And then they tortured her. And probably ended up telling her they had killed their baby just to hurt her. Just to hurt her. Deborah is shown being sexually assaulted so violently that investigators determined she could not have survived.
Oh my God.
It is believed, like we said, that they would kidnap the entire families, and they did this together. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
They needed to big grown men to control these people.
Yes, they did.
And they at gunpoint, because Leonard loved guns, and so did Charles. They would immediately separate the families, and then it is said, and I've been on a lot of forums that have people who've watched a lot of the tapes. Please, y'all, let me just beg you in advance.
I would never.
Don't.
No. And I can stomach.
I watched
really
one because I knew it didn't have any murder in it or nudity. And I'm sorry I watched it. Like, I feel bad on the inside. I watched the one with but Brenda. And it's just so pitiful and sad and scary. But it is said that at least one of the families, and it didn't specify which one, that they made the boyfriend and the child watch when they assaulted one of the women.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's...
I can't imagine. It's just horror. Sexual horror and terror.
And unlike the toy box killers, it's like multiple involved. You know what I mean? It goes to multiple other levels past them.
I don't know. It's a pretty same level
really
to me.
It's
just really rough all the way around. In cases like this, I'm going to be honest with you. It's hard for me to find empathy. I just don't have it.
Yeah.
I will fully admit that I can't scrounge up not a single scrap for either of these men. Truly, if a human being can be a monster, it'd be these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be these guys. And everybody wants to know, who's the ringleader?
They're both.
They were both gung-ho. I think Charles was chaotic, and I think Leonard was the planner.
Yes.
Leonard had the idea of what he wanted to do probably since childhood, and I think Charles was just going along to cause chaos.
If they would have never met, they would have killed.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
Both of them.
Yeah.
I think Charles had some fucked up thing going on with his sexuality where he targeted gay men. That's not to say he didn't commit any of the torture and rape on those women, because he surely did. He was on video doing it. He was the one threatening Brenda about her baby.
Just disgusting.
And he's like, you'll find that we're very cold-hearted. So don't try any of that crying crap. And I just want to throw up.
Yeah.
I think they both would have been sexual deviants as well, rapists.
Yeah.
Leonard extorted his sisters with those naked pictures he'd taken to force them, basically to allow them that he could sexually assault them. Even when he was very young.
Oh my God.
Disgusting human being. Fuck that guy. Yeah. I hope he's in hell where he belongs. I just have no empathy here. They took at least 25 lives. They annihilated 2 whole families for some cars and for video and audio equipment. I absolutely hate them, and I hate this case, and I hate that it happened.
Yeah.
I was very curious about the efforts to identify the 45 pounds of human bone they found, and as of August 25th, 2021, they have since been exhumed, and efforts to identify the remains using DNA has begun. And a Michigan woman found out in February of 2023 that her mother was likely one of their victims.
Wow.
And her name is Cheryl Gant. And she didn't know she was adopted until age 10. When she went looking for her birth mother, she was informed nude photos of Cheryl Okoro, that's her name, and an 11-page letter were found on Leonard's property.
Wow.
She went missing in San Francisco in 1984, and her remains have never been found, and I wonder if they're part of the 45 pounds of bones. And I can't find a further update on this, so I'm assuming testing is ongoing, and I'm sure it will make the news when they start identifying remains if they're able to do so. I mean, they were burned. It's going to be
I was just about to say that. It's going to be really difficult.
Charles was convicted of 10 of 11 murders he was accused of. He was not convicted of Paul Rosner's murder. And that made the family very upset because Leonard didn't go to these kills alone 90% of the time. He went with Charles. It is very likely both men were there.
Right, but it's one of those things where it's a technicality.
Here's the thing, is clearly, so the gunshot is in the ceiling of the car, right? And it clearly, the trajectory shows it was someone in the back seat who fought. So someone sitting in the driver's seat, Paul was sitting in the passenger seat, and someone sat behind him and shot him from behind. He likely had no idea what was going on. Because for the men, they didn't torture. They just killed them.
Yeah.
Unless the rumors are true, people who've watched all the tapes and have said that sometimes they made the men watch their girlfriends or wives be assaulted. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But Charles...
I'm sure they would size them up first.
I guess.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, I don't know, just fucking hate all these people. So Charles was sentenced to death. Now, if y'all don't know, there's been a moratorium on the death penalty in California since 2006, I believe. And he has still not exhausted his federal appeals. So normally I'm not a big advocate of the death penalty, but in this case, yeah.
I don't think he deserves cold macaroni.
No.
I don't think he deserves sandpaper.
Not one pleasure in life, not one single happy day does this man deserve.
Sunshine, not a thing.
But now I'm going to talk about something that's just very rarely talked about.
Oh, I was wondering when you were going to get to this.
Oh,
yeah, girl.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about Carolyn's involvement in this case. Her name is now Lynn Kessler, and she lives in California. Shortly before police raided the home that Leonard rented from her, she took and destroyed many, many, many cassette and VHS tapes.
Girl.
It's very likely she was on them doing very incriminating things. On a tape that was recovered, she is asked by Charles Ng who she'd like to see disappear next. Implying she was well aware of the murders.
And she got to pick and choose.
Yes, she did. On this tape, she is seen laughing. She helped Charles flee police when she was for sure well aware of what they'd been doing.
I was wondering if, why she didn't get a charge for that, for aiding and abetting.
Don't worry, I'll tell you. Used to convict him in his murder trial were cartoons that Charles Ng drew of the victims. their various victims. He hung these on the wall of his jail cell. He drew Carolyn laughing as they cooked a young boy alive. These were all true drawings except for that one? I think she was absolutely involved in everything. I think, once again, Leonard was definitely the catalyst. Now, I don't think Carolyn would have killed anyone without Leonard. I don't.
Yeah.
But there's seriously something fucking wrong with her. I think she was into it.
Yeah.
Just as much as he was. In the documentary The Boneyard, Carolyn likely helped Leonard lure women so he could kidnap them and rape them and murder them. She was in on it every step of the way, even more complicit than Charles. I never see this talked about save in this documentary, and I know this case was covered very extensively by last podcast on the left, but I cannot, and I told you I would start calling people out. Here we go. I cannot handle the way they talk about women and children victims. We do not make jokes about murdered, raped children. That is not funny. There's never a world that's funny in, and they can come at me because I'm really sick of this shit.
Yeah.
We respect the victims. We do. This is not a comedic fucking episode. I am not making jokey jokes for the ha-has and making obnoxious noises. This is not where we have fun. This is disgusting and maybe one of the most horrific cases, other than maybe Andre Chikatilo. I don't know, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. I'm a little hot under the collar. I can't listen to that shit, and I won't. I won't give them a one download. And it's a 4-part, and that's a shame because I heard their research is good. But maybe they should have a little more empathy and respect for victims and the victims' families who could stumble across this shit one day. It's not funny. Do better. Yeah, so Carolyn was a teacher's aide at the time the murders were taking place at a high school. She spoke on tape about how she'd like to see 14 and 16-year-old girls forced to do things with Leonard. I see her as a Karla Homolka, and I covered that case, the Ken and Barbie killers. So you can search up that episode if you don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't have the stomach to ever talk about that case again.
Yep.
That one really got me. Carolyn was given immunity for her testimony against Charles Ng. However, she was never called to the stand as a witness because the prosecution felt she was unreliable, because she fucking is. But the deal remained was for nothing, and I believe she got away with murder. People might claim she was threatened into it. Maybe she was. I wasn't there. But I will tell you this. I would rather die than ever bring that kind of harm to another human being, especially children. I wouldn't be laughing about the rape and torture of teenage girls and children on film with 2 depraved killers. I don't care how much I loved someone or how afraid of them I was. I'm not usually a person to get on a high horse like that or think I'm morally superior to anyone in any way, but I fucking will this time. I'd rather die or be tortured than participate in the death and torture of others. I wouldn't do it. Y'all, I have been gaslit, abused, scared to death, sexually assaulted, and it would never occur to me to participate in that. Ever. Yeah. So yeah, she should be on death row right next to fucking Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%.
That Carolyn got to move on with her life, remarry, and have kids makes me want to puke. Who the fuck would even marry her? But last I heard, she got divorced in 2010, but I can't find exact confirmation on this. I wonder the pack of lies she must have told to her husband. Because what man in his right mind would marry? She's just gross. Just fucking gross.
She's evil.
It's evil as shit. And, you know, I don't like to get woo-woo on these because it's true crime. But I believe in evil. I have seen it with my eyes. And all 3 of them is evil.
This is evil.
This is some evil shit.
This is the evil shit.
I don't want to call him a monster because I think only human beings are capable of this kind of fucking evil. Animals aren't.
It's legitimate evil.
It's legitimate evil. It's an insult to fun, made-up monsters.
Yeah.
They're evil, evil, depraved human beings, and I hope they get theirs in the next world.
I hope the fires of hell are nice and Nice and toasty for him.
I just hope it's the worst torture imaginable after what they did. I can't imagine being a mama and your little 2-year-old.
I have a 2-year-old.
I know.
At home. Right now.
There's nothing you wouldn't do. And she's so scared in those videos. I just hated that I saw. So please, y'all, please listen to me on this and do not look at these. They are not worth looking at. It will hurt your heart. It will hurt your soul. And I want you to protect your sweet baby brains. Don't do it.
Right.
And that's that case. God.
I hate this case so much, Lillian.
Jeez. And I'm so pissed that Leonard Lake couldn't face justice. Not for him. I'm pissed for the families. They deserved that, and they'll never get it. And he could have talked and could have pointed where those remains were at and who was where, because I'm sure he knew.
Yeah.
And not left them with all these questions. He's just a fucking coward.
He didn't
fucking care. He only wanted out because he didn't want to go to jail.
Yeah. It's like giving up on a video game when you know you're about to die and you just like
you turn it off. Yeah. It is like that. So I'm going to do very brief, unfunny business time with no good transition because I can smell lasagna that my kid made.
I can smell lasagna. Wait, is that the sign of a stroke?
No,
it's
the
toast.
lasagna is real. Or oranges.
Oh.
Citrus fruits.
Really?
Yeah. Cigarette smoke is another one.
Well, I can just think about cigarettes and smell it.
I know. I'm like, girl, light me up one.
I miss it.
I miss smoking so much.
One.
Well, smoke it for me. Smoke it. All right. So, yeah. Hey, guess what, guys? I do tarot card readings.
Oh, you do?
And they're very good.
Yeah. She's really good at it, dude. Like
almost
really
30 years I've been doing this pretty regularly.
So if you want your book read to you.
I will read you to filth.
Yes.
But nicely. Because I'm not mean. No, do you have, like, if you have a specific question, I can work with that. If you want a general reading, just kind of where your life's at and what kind of direction you should head. If you want a relationship reading, I don't have any qualms about doing love readings. A lot of readers do. It's just going to tell you to dump him.
I was about to say, Lillian's just going to tell you to dump him. If you have a question about your relationship, dump him.
Not necessarily, but frequently. So, yes, if you want a reading from me, my email will be in the description, and you can say
Facebook page.
Lillian. I do. I have readings by Lillian. That's me, and I will link that as well. Hey, it's Maris's birthday month. Please help me make his birthday nice, because last year was poop. It was very bad, and there was a lot of crying and melted ice cream. Let's make it nicer. It's his 40th birthday, y'all. He deserves a really nice birthday, and unfortunately, I'm very poor. And to those of you who've donated to the Maris Birthday Fund, thank you. We are like almost there. I can almost get him some sushi and a gift, and that's all he wants. He's wonderful. He deserves a good birthday. What else? We have a Patreon. If you're aware, go there and look at it. Yeah, we're changing a few things around, but I think the changes are all very good, and I think everyone will like them. We have many, many tiers for every budget, including a $1 tier, so go look at what that's all about. Plus, the photos for this case will be there on a public post, because I didn't take the photos. So why would you pay for them when you could Google them? That's stupid. But we keep our posts, our pictures there predominantly because often they're of a sensitive nature, and I don't want to get zucked to the chateau realm. Or there's just too many.
I have that problem. I will do an entire documentary in picture form.
You will. I'm not as much
love
that way. We are very different in our styles, but I think it's fine. Whatever. What else do we got? Merch. We have T-shirts. We have mugs. We have stickers. They are cute. I have one of everything.
I need to get a new T-shirt for summertime because I have a winter shirt.
Yeah.
But my long sleeve winter T-shirt is awesome and I love it.
I have washed it a million times and it hasn't like fucked up at all.
Oh no, the printing on it is perfect. And I love graphic tees.
Me too.
And this company is really good.
It is, and they're really sturdy and don't have holes or anything. So yes, I highly recommend our merch. It is good. We also have a Discord. Don't be shy. Come on in. You don't have to be a patron or anything. And we've gotten a bunch of new people in, and it's a nice little community.
Everybody's so nice.
They're so nice. And there's always someone to chat to, even if me, Maris, or Willow isn't in there. Although I frequently am. Me, at least. Maris and
I've been really busy lately, so I haven't been. But most of the time I try to be there in the morning, and then you're in there at night, usually.
I'm not there in the morning because I'm asleep.
Yeah, wide awake for some reason.
I work at night primarily, so yeah. What else do I have?
Cute little reason.
Oh, one other thing. So Maris does this really cool thing, which is where you give him your birthday.
Yes, the star chart.
Or you give him an anniversary or even the date of someone's passing. And he will paint a picture like in the old-timey illustration style of the position of the stars and constellations on that day. And y'all,
they're
it is
really
like
pretty.
They're beautiful. I'm going to try and get some examples up on my Readings by Lillian page along with some more information. But if you'd like one of those as a gift, I mean, that directly goes to the Maris Birthday Fund.
Right.
Yeah, go look at stuff. I have, and if it's not in the description, it will be in the link tree. Don't be scared. It's just where we keep all the links. That's it. I got nothing else. My voice is going away. I'm over here like, ugh.
I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning with a toddler, so I had
2.5 hours of sleep. Why? Who knows? Just wasn't a time that my brain was just like, you don't get to sleep anymore. Just gonna fight the bed all night. But at any rate, hey, if all you can do to support this podcast is listen, I thank you. I love you. Was that creepy?
That was really creepy. I was like, ew.
I meant it. I'm wounded now. No, it was a little creepy. I'm sorry. I'm just really hungry.
No, y'all are really awesome. We really appreciate you.
You're wonderful listeners. I mean, gosh, I've met a lot of you online, and I just
we've
think
been
you're
getting
swell.
so much love and appreciation, and people have been saying such nice things. Y'all keep it coming because my cold heart is getting really nice and warm and fuzzy. But
indeed, I might even have self-esteem by the end of the year.
What?
For real. Oh, I know what I was forgetting. Chonky Girl Crochet. Yeah. That's our small business of the week. And they sent us some beautiful, I got some fingerless gloves. Willow got a scarf. Maris got a scarf. I'm a crocheter. And I will tell you, these are very beautifully made. They're very nice. And you've got to get you some. At the very least, go like and share her Facebook page, which I will have linked below. But if you would like to have your small business sponsor a week of this podcast, please email us and we will work out the deets.
That's right.
That's right. Other than that, now I'm going to go for real. Goodbye. Us on your social media platform of choice. Linktree/cruelty has all the links. Check out our Patreon for exclusive episodes, merch, ad-free episodes, live ghost hunts, and much more. Please be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded weekly. Thank you so much. See you next time. Music and production by Libby.